Everyone here? Debbie? Yep. Okay, good. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And as you can see, thank you. You're doing my job. I'm joined by Senators Durbin, Murray, and Stabenow. Now, recent events have made the contrast between Republicans and Democrats crystal clear as we head to the midterm elections. Democrats are pushing to repeal the Trump tax law's giveaways to the wealthiest few and big corporations. Senator Rick Scott and MAGA Republicans want to raise taxes on working families by an average of $1,000. Democrats are fighting to protect a woman's right to an abortion and let women make the best decisions for themselves. MAGA Republicans want a nationwide abortion ban, the jailing of women and doctors, and no exceptions for rape or incest. And as MAGA Republicans and Fox News hosts are promoting deranged conspiracy theories like replacement theory to turn out some voters, Democrats are strongly opposing this dangerous rhetoric and working to make our country more diverse and safer. Democrats are going to relentlessly and strongly highlight the differences between our vision of a brighter future for America and the MAGA Republican dystopian vision between now and November, because it's so important. We're going to fight all the way to protect the rights of Americans. For as long as it takes, we will not relent and we will not give up, because we know that the arc of history bends towards justice. And that's always been true in America, despite steps backward that are all too often taken. We know history is on our side. We're determined to preserve the precious rights that are the bedrock of our great nation. I can feel the energy in our communities. Last weekend, I joined tens of thousands of New Yorkers to march in the streets to show our support for women's rights. And just yesterday, I was with the President and the people of Buffalo, to be with the people of Buffalo as they grieved after unspeakable hatred and violence ripped into their community. But while it's been a sorrow, painful few days for Buffalo, New York, and people across the country, there is a strong sense of resolve. Our communities are not simply going to let MAGA Republicans and the Supreme Court take away our rights. We're going to confront this challenge the same we've confronted them during the 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency, and we're going to get organized and win at the ballot box. Because when confronted with the contrast between what Democrats stand for and what MAGA Republicans stand for, we know the American people are squarely on our side. So we're going to keep up the fight. We're going to keep highlighting the contrast between the parties. The differences couldn't be clearer. Senator Durbin.
Thanks, Chuck. The mass killing in Buffalo last weekend was a tragic reminder of the threat posed by violent white supremacists and other far-right extremists. I first held a hearing on this threat in 2012, 10 years ago, after the massacre by a white supremacist at a Sikh temple in Oak Creek, Wisconsin. In March of last year, in one of the first hearings that I chaired for the Senate Judiciary Committee, following the January 6th attack on the Capitol, FBI Director Christopher Wray testified to our committee under oath that the threat of domestic terrorism is, quote, metastasizing throughout the country. We've seen evidence of that so many places. Sadly, we saw it in Buffalo. The Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act will respond to this threat. It would ensure the Department of Justice, FBI, and Department of Homeland Security works together to better track and respond to this threat. It would establish offices to combat domestic terrorism at the Department of Justice, FBI, and the Department of Homeland Security. And it would require these offices to regularly assess the domestic terrorism threat and focus on the most significant elements. Crucially, it would provide training and resources to assist state, local, and tribal law enforcement in addressing these threats. The bill would establish an interagency task force to combat white supremacist infiltration of the uniformed services and the federal law enforcement, which is also a critical element. The House passed our legislation in the last Congress. They expect to pass it again, maybe even today. It's time to get this bill to the President's desk and signed into law. We have widespread support from the civil rights community, the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights, 31 additional civil rights organizations, and we've worked with our colleagues in the House to work out objections related to ACLU issues. Today I'll be reintroducing an updated version of the bill to match the text the House will consider this evening. My staff will be circulating the updated text today. I encourage everyone in my caucus to co-sponsor the bill. My friends, this is an issue, sadly, that needs to be addressed across America. As we took 9/11 seriously, we need to take this seriously. This is a domestic form of the same terrorism that killed the innocent people in New York City, and now has assaulted them in Buffalo and many other places. Whether it's Pittsburgh, El Paso, you name it, it's a hate crime. We've seen it before in American history. The only thing missing between these organizations and the past are the white robes. But the message is still the same hateful, divisive message that sets off people to do outrageously extreme things and violent things to innocent people across America. It's time for us to take a stand, and I invite the Republicans to join us. Let's make this a bipartisan effort to clean this out of America.
And let me just interrupt. I announced to the caucus at our lunch that we are going to file cloture on the domestic terrorism bill next week. And we hope our Republican colleagues will understand how important this is, given what's going on in the country with replacement theory, with so much bigoted voices on all of our news media, and we hope they'll join us. But we will have a vote on cloture next week on this bill. Senator Murray.
My heart also goes out to the families in Buffalo, everyone who lost someone in the shooting last weekend, and everyone who's really feeling the weight of this attack. Make no mistake, this was a methodically planned white supremacist attack on a black community. It was driven by deep hatred that runs completely counter to the values that we aspire to as a country. It was driven by racist ideology and the dangerous lie of the Great Replacement. And let's be clear, this is a lie we have seen some Republicans traffic in a calculated effort to fearmonger for votes or views. We've seen it on a prime cable TV news program. We've seen it on the campaign trail, even here at the nation's capital. It is up to all of us to call out these lies and root out hate everywhere. At the basic level, at a bare minimum, every single one of us should be able to denounce not just the shooter, but the racist lies and the white supremacist ideology that motivated that attack. What are we hearing from Republicans? Crickets. And that silence is speaking volumes. Republicans must say if they denounce the Great Replacement. And if they continue to avoid giving a clear answer, we will continue pressing. Because we need Republicans to work with us to fight racism and extremism. These should not be partisan issues. We should all be able to say the Great Replacement is a racist, white supremacist lie. But denouncing white supremacy isn't the only issue where Republicans have gone quiet. Since it has become clear that the Supreme Court will strike down Roe v. Wade and end the constitutional right to an abortion and force women to be pregnant, whether they want to be or not, Republicans have been conspicuously silent about their extreme agenda to control women's bodies, which has disproportionately affected women of color and those with the tightest budgets and fewest resources. We know better. We know what they have been saying for years, the policies that they have been pushing for decades, and we can see plain as day the laws they are trying to pass in states right now. Republicans have been perfectly clear they will not stop at overturning Roe v. Wade. They want a federal abortion ban. They want to take away birth control. They want to take away IUDs and Plan B. And they want to take away IVF that helps people start a family. And they've shown us much by voting against our bill to codify Roe last week, by voting to undermine our nation's federal family planning program, and by championing extreme bills that states have passed that will take away people's access to birth control and IVF. So while Republicans may try and be silent on these issues, I can promise you we will not be. We know what they said, we know what they have done, we know what they are pushing to do, and most importantly, we know the American people will not stand for it. Thank you.
Senator Stabenow.
Well, thank you so much, and I want to echo what Senator Murray said. We will not be quiet about this issue as well as the other issues that are in front of us and that the American people are so scared about because of the extremism that we are seeing coming from the other side. And I also want to just say on behalf of the people of Michigan, as well as we know all Americans, that I'm really heartbroken with the violence in Buffalo, and I'm angry. I'm angry about it as well. I'm angry about a former president who gave permission for folks to take off their hoods and be clear about what they believed in terms of their white supremacy and hatred and bigotry. I'm angry that a murderer with a heart full of racist hatred would target people who are just trying to live their lives, just trying to live their lives. A loving wife and mother picking up a few groceries after visiting her husband in the nursing home. A retired police officer who was confronted the gunman, but was no match for his bulletproof vest. A retired teacher who helped run her church's soup kitchen. These are the people that he was going after. 10 people whose lives were viciously stolen by a domestic terrorist with no respect for his fellow human beings. No respect. That is a trend these days with MAGA Republicans. We have people who push the white supremacist arguments that inspired the killer in Buffalo, and we have a political party that is willing to take away a woman's freedom to make our own reproductive health decisions. These people are ready to turn the clock back 50 years or more to when a time was there that women had fewer choices and Americans of color had fewer opportunities. They've declared war on progress. But you know what? We are here representing Democrats, not only in our caucus and in this Congress, but across the country. They're saying that we are not going to let them get away with it. We'll stand up against racism and hatred, and we're going to stand up with women across this country who expect and demand their own freedom to make their own choices about their health care decisions. And we're going to continue to fight with every ounce of our being, to stop extreme MAGA Republicans from turning back the clock. There's a lot at stake this year, and certainly in this year's election.
Thank you, Senator Stabenow. Yes, ma'am.
Senator Schumer, will you be bringing any gun control legislation to the floor after this Buffalo shooting, and if not, why not?
Okay, I'm the author of the Brady Law, as you know, passed it in 1994 when I was a House member, and I care very, very deeply about this issue. Obviously, we want to get something done to stop gun violence. There are a number of discussions going on. Some are bipartisan, some are in our own caucus, and we're going to work towards what we can actually get done. New.
There's some drama in the House side regarding your delegation, maps that were drawn. Do you have any concerns with the maps that were drawn and this infighting that's happening within your own delegation?
Yeah, I wish they had drawn different maps. I don't approve of the maps that were drawn. The situation within the delegation is fluid, so I'm not going to comment on that. Yes, no, I promised I would. Yes.
Can you tell us what's coming up next on your inflation fighting agenda?
On
The inflation agenda that you have.
Yes, well, two of the issues we're working on, we're making good progress on an insulin bill that would keep the cost of insulin at $35. But it goes broader. Senator Shaheen and Senator Collins are working on a bipartisan bill that would deal with some of the underlying causes as well, dealing with the intermediaries. We're working, obviously, on the USICA bill. We had a very good conference. I think 90% of the thousands of conferees showed up and spoke, and we're making good progress on that as well, which deals a great deal with costs. Yes. Yes, Senator Stabenow has done a great job on this, and there's a bipartisan bill which I think will pass the House either today or tomorrow, and Senator Bozeman is her co-sponsor, and we're going to try to get that done by UC. We hope no one will block it. It's such an immediate need. Yes.
Democrats that are in the House are struggling to get support for their gas price gouging legislation. And this is something you push forward. Does the Senate plan to move on that?
Yes.
In the House?
Yes. The bill that they put together contains the gouging provisions that I believe it is Chairman Pallone put together, but also the manipulation, the anti-manipulation provisions that Senator Cantwell put together. And I spoke with Speaker Pelosi. We decided to combine them. Hopefully they're going to send them over here, and that's another place, in answer to the question before, that we hope to deal with prices and price increases.
What's your observation about the strong performances of Trump-backed candidates in Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Ohio? What does it say about Trump's grip on the Republican Party? What does it mean for 2022 or presidential election 2020?
Well, as I've said, the MAGA Republicans, and I would consider Trump one of those, given what he has done, what he has said about replacement theory and so much else, are dominating the Republican Party. And those who are not even part of it are afraid to rebut them, to stand up against them. Frankly, we're happy to have the election be a referendum between what Democrats stand for and what the MAGA Republicans stand for, and it gives us a good deal of optimism about 2022. Last one. No, you'll be last.
Formula issue. This appropriations bill is it's less than 1% of what the Ukraine aid package is, for example. Do you think that's enough? Do you think there's more that the Senate needs to do on this?
We'd like to do more, but we want to move quickly because you know the crisis. You've all seen the pictures of the empty shelves in the supermarkets, and so if this, there you are. If this bill can move quickly, we'll move quickly, but it's not going to be the last thing we try to do. Last one.
Thank you. On Ukraine, are you confident that this will be the last supplemental?
No, I am not. The Ukrainians are valiant. They're making progress. As you've seen in the Kharkiv area, they've pushed all the way to the Russian border. There are reports now that they're even doing better in the east, where the Russians seem to have an advantage. And I think there's strong view in our caucus, and I think although you're seeing some Republicans begin to dissent, a little more of that MAGA-ness, you know, Trump seemed to love Putin, that it will try to give the Ukrainians what they need. They're doing the fighting. They're the ones getting killed. They're the ones struggling and suffering. The least we can do is give them the weaponry they need. Nope, no follow. Thank you.
COVID relief. COVID relief. COVID relief. When are you going to go?